Hello and welcome to another episode of A Slice of Health, the Candid Health Chat podcast, where we slice away health truth from health fiction. Join me and my friends as we challenge common health myths via chit chat, powered by several cups of coffee. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on social media, and do visit us at asliceofhealth.club. Let's get to today's episode. Hello champions, welcome back to another episode of A Slice of Health. It's me, your host MDO, and I'm super excited to talk about today's subject with our guest Oyinkansola Oladitan, who is going to be sharing her own health journey and weight loss journey with us as well. Welcome, Oyinkan.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on today's episode. Tell us a lot about yourself.
So I'm 29 years old. I sort of hybridly living between London and Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Nigerian. I work for a venture capital firm in the city, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a couple of businesses that I run. And I'm a fitness and sustainable living enthusiast. That's sort of like a nice little summary.
That is great. How do you balance living between Lagos and London?
I joke that I live on a plane. Literally life feels like that sometimes, but work has me moving around a lot, and I think because I've been moving around for most of my career so far, I've gotten used to it, and just making sure that I have a good balance between my private life and home life, able to still hang out with friends, do everything I love doing, and be organized. Or being organized is the main thing, really. Just making sure I'm staying on top of things. I feel more than I thrive, but it's 10 years in and I'm not doing so badly.
That's awesome. And so we've got you on today talking about your weight loss journey and your journey to where you're at now in terms of encouraging sustainable living for other people as well. And I read an article about you in Women's Health magazine, and it was so shocking how you are currently at sort of half of the weight that you'd previously been at. So tell our listeners about how you came to that point and what your journey's been like so far.
Sure. So I was big pretty much all of my life. Started putting on weight from when I was about 10 years old, and it just crept up from what felt like, it's just baby weight, she'll lose it. Baby weight turned into something else, and then I became morbidly obese. I'd been on every type of diet you could think of. My family, particularly my mother, they were really, really wanted me to live better, and would do anything really to try to help me get to where I wanted to be mentally, but couldn't quite get there physically. So every diet I've done, like Atkins, I've done every sort of like meal plan. I did consultants. I went to a health farm in Vienna. I got my jaw wired shut. I did all sorts of rubbish, and it just didn't work. And not to say that diets don't work, but it's what people don't understand about weight loss. It's not actually the doing; it's the mental. If your mindset is not right, or if you can't muster up that discipline, or if you have a whole load of insecurities and other things going on with you, it's not going to happen. So even now, because I used to do weight loss consultancy, but with my busy schedule, just didn't work out. I couldn't give my clients what they needed, but I do it for a lot of family and friends, just because I'm passionate about it.
Yeah.
Whenever I have mothers or concerned friends come at me like, oh, I have this friend or my daughter or my son, and I really need them to help me with this, and I really need them to help me with that. And I say to them, well, the concerned parents or loved ones, I'm like, this journey has to come from the person. You can't force it on them. My mom tried to force this on me for years. My parents spent so much money trying to, get me to lose weight, and it just didn't happen. And for me, where it happened was I for many years I suffered from gastroenteritis and like ulcers and really bad acid issues with my stomach. And then one day in August, I just was feeling really sick. I was hyperventilating, couldn't breathe properly, stomach hurt, wasn't able to keep down any food, was throwing up brown stuff, which I now know to be bile and like stomach acid. And what had happened was my stomach lining had disintegrated, and the acid had started to just basically spread around my body, which was very dangerous. I had to have emergency surgery. And that was the kick up the bum that I needed. Not to say that if I was, stick thin, 140 pound, I may still not have had that happen, but my unhealthy lifestyle contributed to where I was.
Yeah.
And I was in private hospital, incurring the most ridiculous medical bills for my parents. I'm out of uni, out of masters, working where I should be living my best life. I'm 3 weeks in a hospital bed. I was like, literally, enough is enough. This weight has stopped you from being yourself. This weight has stopped you from wearing the type of clothes you want to wear. This weight has stopped you from feeling beautiful. This weight is cost you money, cost your parents money, cost you time. Like, girl, you gotta fix up. And I kind of just told myself that because things were very touch and go a lot whilst I was in hospital. I was really in a bad state. And I said, if I got out of this hospital bed, I was going to turn things around. I didn't know how, didn't know where to begin. I told my mom, she sort of like, okay, that's nice. But after like 19 years of failing through numerous diets and numerous, they just really didn't have that much faith in me. So whilst I was in recovery, I couldn't eat. I was on a liquid diet, which helped because my stomach had shrunk. So I was already starting to lose weight in my first 2-3 months post-op, and I was recovering at home. I was off work, recovering at home, and I just started learning about food. I took a nutrition course. I had a nutritionist. Also found out that my body doesn't break down a lot of foods. Found out I was lactose intolerant, that I was mildly gluten intolerant as well. So I had to start to abide by a very specific diet. And when I got reintroduced back into food, when I started to eat right, I started to notice all these things that used to happen to me before: the excessive bloating, the bad skin, like literally so many things. Like my complexion changed. I was never bloated anymore. I was fuller for longer. It was a complete 360. And I also then got a personal trainer, and 6 months post-op, or was it 3 months? Can't remember. Anyway, post-op, I had to wait a while to heal up before I was allowed to exercise again. And I got a personal trainer, and one of my friends to be an accountability partner. So I'm really big on accountability on my journey. So this excuse me, my accountability partner, it's like basically putting different accountability measures in place to help you to basically hold yourself up to what you've committed to do. So along with a personal trainer, I had this friend who after work would meet me at the gym to exercise 3 times a week. I knew to myself I couldn't cancel because firstly we've both paid. It's not just me paying, it's her paying as well. I couldn't cancel because we're doing this together. We've committed to it together. Couldn't cancel because I'd lose money. And then also the personal trainer who I had to be accountable to. For me, it took all these 5 levels of like checks for me to, because I've had personal trainers in the past, I've paid and committed to things, and then I just won't do it. But I realized that, I had to put more measures in place to force myself to do these things. Yeah, and that's sort of how I got into it. Day 1 was very hard. Week 2 gets easier. Week 4, week 8, 6 months in, and you realize before you even try to, you've changed your lifestyle. The weight is coming off. It's gradual. You're not looking at. I'm very anti these transformation pictures that people post on social media, because I remember so many times, when I was really big, that, oh, okay, it took this person 3 months to get from this to this. So, you'd set all these unrealistic targets and unrealistic goals for yourself. And what that does for the psyche is, if you're someone who struggles with, you're being insecure and you have a lot of rubbish in your life, or whatever you're dealing with, not meeting those targets, unrealistic targets that you set for yourself, then can take you like 10 steps backwards. So I was literally running this like yo-yo for many years. So I binned the scale, I binned the like targets, the unrealistic targets. I would only weigh myself when I had my medical check-ins. And those were like 2-3 months apart. So I wouldn't know how much I weighed. I'd just literally rely on my tape measure, just measure myself and just see, oh, the inches are coming off, but I never knew what the scale said. Yeah, sorry, I don't want to talk too much.
No, you can't. No,
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, definitely. And you said so many things in there that I really want to piggyback on. And the first thing was that you got your jaw wired shut.
Yes.
How old were you when you did that?
I did that when I was 17.
Okay. And how did you get to that point in terms of accepting that you were going to do that, and your parents coming on board to say, yes, this is the right choice?
My parents would have done anything. I have pretty liberal, open-minded parents. They don't really, for them it was more, you're morbidly obese, you're at risk of literally every sort of terrible ailment. And they didn't really care how it got done as long as it got done. So when I suggested, getting my jaw wired shut, because I had watched lots of YouTube videos that showed people who had gotten their jaw wired shut and they lost weight in 6 months, I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the dentist and I'm going to get this done. And I got it done, and it was horrible. It was, for a 17-year-old, it was truly horrid. Because you can't, people, or what these companies don't tell you, or what these YouTube don't, you can't really open your mouth. I had really terrible sleep apnea as well, and not being able to control parts of your body makes it like a billion times worse. So I started to get scared of sleeping, because it was just not a good way to go, and I got it taken out. I think a couple of weeks in. I think it was 3 weeks into having it in.
Yeah.
I also looked at weight loss surgery, having a lap band. I was actually going to do that. I've had a consultation, and all of that before everything went crazy. I'm not against people having what do they call it? There's a bariatric surgery. People don't understand how difficult losing weight is, especially if it's drastic weight loss. Because I've had a lot of people ask me, "Oh, do you think it's a good idea?" I said, "I really think it's a you thing. You have to look at yourself, look at your finances, look at basically what your life is like, and is this a right decision for me?" Luckily, I was able to do it without going that far, and I've been able to keep it off. I have friends who've had bariatric surgery. Some people it hasn't worked on at all. They've regressed quite a lot. Some people have flourished. So yeah, there's no shame in the game. You can't, like, I just being unhealthy is just not the best. It's not good. And anything that can help you get to a better place where you're healthy, I'm generally in support of.
Yeah. And reading some of the articles that you've written about your weight and sort of just following it on social media, you often talk about having weight-related health issues sort of before you went on your weight loss journey. And you'd already mentioned in terms of the bowel problems that you've been having in terms of your stomach. What other issues were you sort of finding that you were struggling with in a more significant way then compared to now?
Yep. So my left knee was really quite badly damaged. I couldn't walk, and I'm also flat-footed, so that comes with, and then when you're carrying weight on top of that, walking was always a chore. So I couldn't do much walking, I couldn't do much exercise, much of anything really. And losing weight, all of that has pretty much completely changed, like had complete 360. With eating better, I don't have an ulcer anymore. I haven't used probiotics or omeprazole, which is I used to be on omeprazole every day. Haven't had that in months, just because I'm eating better, I'm managing, I know what my body can handle in terms of acid. I've cut out food groups that are not, to be honest, no, I haven't. Food groups isn't the word. I haven't cut out food groups, but foods and methods of cooking, like fried foods and things like that, they just don't work with my stomach. I just don't do it. Yeah.
That is amazing, and I really like how you said that you haven't cut out specific food groups, but you've changed the methods in which you're cooking, and you've cut out specific things that your body doesn't tolerate well. And how important would you say it is for us to identify what our bodies can tolerate, or the things that cause triggers for things like bloating, for things like tummy upset, things like heartburn? How important would you say being aware of those things have been in your own health journey?
It's so important. I'm lucky, as I said, I have very well exposed, educated, and liberal parents. So, like, in terms of getting tested, getting just basically, ignorance is not an excuse. It's a disservice to yourself just living and suffering. Especially Black people, where we have allergens to so many different things, and we literally live life suffering because we just carry on with it. And like most Black people I know are lactose intolerant. So why are you eating cheese? Why are you drinking milk every day? why are you eating ice cream? And then you're in bed all night with a swollen belly and like feeling uncomfortable and things like that. It's like it's a form of self-harm. Or like you have an ulcer and you're eating like fried plantain and like spicy food all the time. Why are you doing that? Or you have a nut allergy, your skin's breaking out, you're producing too much sebum. It's probably you're eating the wrong things, you know, and consuming the wrong things. And unfortunately, there are a lot of studies that show that bad eating habits and things like that, you don't see the negative repercussions until it's too late. And where you can be fortuitous to plug these things now when we're young, why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really love what you said in terms of us being aware that there's issues and just continuing in that pattern. And it brings me back to something that you said at the beginning when you were talking about when people reach out to you for either consulting or to talk about family members who are also struggling with their weight, and the importance of a mindset shift.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like your mindset shift perhaps came when you were admitted into hospital with ongoing ulcer problems. How old were you when that happened? When that day, when that time period when you were in hospital?
I was 23.
Okay.
And I would say my mindset has shifted. It wasn't just that one day, it's been numerous things. One thing that I didn't expect was I thought, oh, as I would be losing weight, I'd be feeling good, and automatically it would solve all of life's problems. Little did I know that like a lot of my being obese had to do with having a very, very bad mental state. I was not in a healthy mental state. And I started to see a psychiatrist. And a lot of people would be like, oh, that's a bit extra. But I had serious issues. I'm not anywhere, I won't say like, I'm like Yoda and I've got everything like sorted out, but like it's a daily battle to understand and know and love myself. And I'm gonna say this and not to sound really rude, but people that get themselves to a point of morbid obesity is a form of self-hate. We eat to block out things. We eat to there's a whole emotional eating. That's our cushion. That's our best friend. Food is our best friend. Food is our support when we're feeling sad, when we don't want to challenge ourselves and look into the deeper issues, we eat. And I can say it with my full chest because I lived this. And when you don't have that as a crutch anymore, you have no other choice but to look in the mirror and be like, okay, what are all these things that are pulling me back? What are all these things that are not helping me get to where I need to be? And it could be, everyone has their different struggles. Mine was, I had to basically protect myself in the sense of like having the right types of people around me, career-wise, understanding that, look, I'm very ambitious, and thank God, I've had a very good career thus far, but it's not your father's company, girl. Like, you cannot keep on literally like selling your blood there needs to be balance. You need to love yourself enough to not put yourself in bad relationships, whatever type of relationship it's going to be. So, and a lot of years of just insecurity, self-hate, and just bullying and being put down, and having to unpack all of these, right? I didn't know that thought, losing weight would fix all those problems, but it didn't. And that's the emotional growing up that I needed to do whilst I was on my journey, still doing now, and really, really, really being selfish with myself and knowing what I want, going after what I want, putting myself first, etc, etc, etc. Yeah.
I really love that, and I'm so glad that you talked about your own journey with mental health and the ongoing journey that is, because a lot of times we don't make it so clear that actually food, just as any substance, can also get us into a pattern of a sort of bad relationship with it as well. And so we can get into a dependent relationship with as many substances as we can, or
Yep.
on our own inclinations, and find ourselves being lost in that substance as a sort of mind-numbing pattern of behavior. And for some people it's alcohol, for some people even it could be exercise, for some people it's gambling, but for a lot of people as well it is food. And being aware of that, and then being able to then start unpacking it and doing that mental health work, which is quite difficult work to do, is so important. And what would you say, and I'm really glad that you talked about that, because it's one of my huge passions in terms of mental health, and especially in the African context as well, because these are things that we don't talk about as much as we really should. And you said something, you said, oh, someone might think it's a bit drastic that you sought out professional help for your psychology. But what would you say to people who think that way? Because I think, I think that it's quite sad that we're not able to actually correlate the importance of having good mental health to then having boundaries and healthy relationships with food, with other people, with ourselves, right across the board.
Yeah.
What would you say to people who think that way?
Well, I mean, bottom line, I think it's a shame. I think, particularly for me, I'm Yoruba, and a lot of our Nigerian tribes, we revel, and the onus is really put on togetherness and family and love and all these things. And bottom line, you cannot love other people if you do not love yourself. You can't have healthy relationships. You just can't be happy if you don't love yourself. So being anything that's not healthy, whether it's having an addictive personality, whether it's mental and psychological abuse from partners or friends, whether it's obesity, whatever your struggle in life is, you can't put plasters on top of wounds, and you can't latch on to people to try and fix yourself. You can't be dependent on people to try and fix yourself. There is literally nothing you can do to put fluff over your problems. You've got to be okay and happy with yourself first and foremost before anything else. I'll give you an example. Like, I used to, 2 jobs ago, I was really gunning for a promotion, and I was so sure that the reason why I wasn't promoted was because I was Black, I was fat, I was young, I was, and it very well could have been. I don't think so now, but it very well could have been. But at the end of the day, I realized that all of these were my all of everything feeling hard done by was me projecting that outwards. Everything I was feeling inwards, I was projecting outwards. Because, I mean, I'm in a position now where I, have to sit with candidates for interviews. It's never crossed my mind to pick one candidate over the other because of how they might look. So why then that would have been in my mind, I only put it down to because I wasn't feeling comfortable with myself inwardly, I was projecting that outwardly.
Yeah.
So that's just an example of many that, like, us as women, us as human beings, we do to ourselves. And like, life is really just not that deep, you know? People don't, people need to focus on themselves and making themselves the best that they can be. And we have, luckily, we have the tools to do that. Um, Most of us live in the UK, where it's free to get. There are a lot of mental health resources that are affordable or even outright free. There are a lot of charities. There are a lot of organizations that focus on this. You have so many options. So you choosing not to do it is, again, as I said, a form of self-harm. You're taking that decision to not look out after yourself.
Yeah, that is so important. And a lot of times our own, we can get into a habit of projecting our own insecurities and our own self-esteem onto other people when that wasn't on their radar at all. And you've mentioned something about sort of your relationship with food, and how you started to unpack a lot of that, and issues from the past, issues with bullying, with your psychiatrist. How has the relationship with food now changed now that you're engaging in, let's say, a more sustainable pattern? How has that relationship changed?
Oh boy, my relationship with food has, I'll tell you stories. So like, when I was young, I'd like go out and like hide and eat food and lie when I got back home that I hadn't eaten so I could eat again. I'd literally like, I'd be eating breakfast, or like the night before, I've planned out breakfast, lunch, and dinner the next day. I love food. I still love food, and I'm a huge foodie. So like, I've actually been to all the Michelin star restaurants in the UK.
What?
Yep.
Oh
So
my
like,
goodness.
all of my pastimes involved eating out and food. Either I was, and then when I bought my apartment, when I bought my flat, I'd have lots of dinner parties, and like, I'm a very good cook. I'd have lots of dinner parties and things like that. My whole existence surrounded food. Like, I can't even begin to it was an obsession of mine. And then seeing the psychiatrist and the nutritionist, I just got to really, food is for sustenance and it's not a hobby. I know that sounds mad, but literally, you eat to stay alive.
Yeah.
So how I've changed my eating habits is, I mean, socially, I started to just do more things that didn't involve food. So when I'm meeting up with friends and things like that, we might go for a walk, we might go to a gallery, we might go to an exercise class. Like, I love co-box, and like, there are all these like funky, cool, like classes, like HIIT classes, hot yoga, different things that you can do. Or like, my most favorite pastime of life is like just walking around. So like, I would Sunday just like walk to Selfridges, window shop. Like, you can even do, like, I'm a shopping addict. I will window shop, from like, just be on the streets roaming around and getting those steps in, you know? And then like, discipline. So I started fasting a lot as well, as a form of discipline, proving to myself that, you know, you are more than food, and you are more than, and you can have self-control, because people really believe that they do not have self-control. And that's a thing of your mind. Like, if you tell yourself, because my friends are like, oh, you're so disciplined, you'll go out, you won't have dessert, or like, I'll go to a friend's birthday, I won't have cake. Not because I don't want to, like, sometimes I'll eat cake, but sometimes I tell myself I'm not going to have cake, and I'm not going to have the cake. And it's just really holding yourself accountable. And with fasting, I love doing water fast because it's also a very good cleanse. Just helps your body reset a lot. It's not for everyone, but I enjoy it because it does wonders for my skin, especially with all my exercising and things like that. And where like in a weight loss state, I maybe have plateaued. Fasting just helps you like reset and gets the weight loss going back up again. But I really love proving things to myself, proving that I can do things. So food has been a really enjoyable one, and with working with a nutritionist, now being a nutritionist myself, like before I used to say, oh, I hate this, I hate that, I hate this, I can't eat this, I can't eat that. Oh, this is just ways of making excuses, you know? And also finding foods that I like, foods that I really enjoy. Luckily, I've always actually been a healthy eater, funnily enough. I don't really snack. I don't like chocolate. Like, I don't like chocolate at all. People think that, oh my gosh, she's crazy. She doesn't like chocolate. But I really don't like chocolate. And I'm not, like, my favorite, like, snack would be a digestive, like a plain digestive. So just finding ways to be consistent, making sure I was meal prepping, because also when you have a lot of time when you don't plan, you have time to just be stupid and foolish and like, okay, because I've not brought my meal to work today, then I'm going to go to Nando's and go and get chicken and chips and everything that I shouldn't be eating whilst I'm doing my meal plans and stuff. But not saying that I won't eat chicken and chips, but what I mean is like I just make sure I'm holding myself accountable and planning. And also it's good for finances. Like, boy, when I stopped eating out, I started to save so much money when I said to myself that, okay, you're really going to be eating, like 90% of your meals are going to be cooked at home. I saved so much money, so much money. So, like, they're just numerous pluses, really.
Yeah, yeah. That is amazing. You know, talking about self-control, accountability, and all these things really do play a role in terms of making important changes and also then making changes that last. Because what sometimes happens is people have, you know, sudden weight loss or you know, sudden change in their body mass index because they've gone on either a drastic diet or they have had an intense lifestyle change. But the lack of self-control, sometimes the lack of accountability, sometimes the lack of having structures in place that support you to continue those changes, you then kind of rebound back into the habits that brought you to the original place in the first place. And that is so important. And what would you say about then, you know, speaking to people who, you know, let's say if I had an obese friend who I could see is making the wrong choices and is complaining about their weight, but then is also eating all the carbs and high sugar foods and doesn't do any exercise. Having lived through it, how would you suggest that we approach those kind of things, you know, trying to encourage them to live a healthier lifestyle?
The first thing I'd say is your obese friend knows that they're obese. Like, there's nothing you're telling them that they don't know. They're choosing every day just to be lazy and not commit to things. Where you can be a good friend, a good loved one, is to be supportive. Understand that they don't have that self-resolve and willpower that you may have, but push them. But be gentle, but push them. Let them know that you're up their ass, but not like literally right all the way rammed up in it. Like, let them know that you're there to go. Like, one of my best friends, who's my accountability partner, she's literally like she was a size 10. She didn't need to go to the gym 3-4 times a week. She did this for 8 months just to be a good friend.
Oh, bless her.
Yeah. So I probably wouldn't have stuck to personal training. I wouldn't have, knowing myself then, I wouldn't have stuck to it if she didn't miss one session. It wasn't convenient for her because she worked then I was working in Canary Wharf and she was working in the city.
Wow.
And she lives in East London. So it would have just been, and Central Line, she could just go to Central Line, straight to Stratford, straight home. She'd either come to Canary Wharf to the gym I trained at, then go home. So it wasn't even convenient for her. But that labor of love and that wanting to support me, she stuck by me.
Yeah.
And she did it with me. So little things like that. Actually, it's not little. That one is really big, but like actually physically. So she wasn't telling me, oh, you really need to lose weight. You're this, you're that. She was like, okay, I'll do this thing with you. So it was gentle. She was pushing me, but it was non-verbal. So there are lots of non-verbal ways in which you can push and help your friend, your loved one. Implore them to seek help, speak to people. Mental health is really important, and it's probably 80% of the problem. So maybe if you can start getting them to be in a safe environment, promoting, like, because especially females, like most of the females I know that have put on weight they've been in some bad man drama, and then they're like eating their way out of their pain. So, really being a source of support to someone, whether it's they're going through a bad situation or they just need that push to get to the next step, you can be that person for your person. So those are the ways in which you can be, but trying to like talk down to your big friend when you've never walked a day in their shoes, or being self-righteous about it, I can do it, you can do it too. No, you can't. You slim person don't know their struggles, and you don't know what it's like to live their pain every day. So you think that you have that determination, you aren't walking in their shoes. When you're 135 kg and someone is telling you, oh, let's run on this treadmill for 30 minutes, impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible. You don't know it. You don't know what that feels like. Impossible. So don't presume to know or think that, oh, you just need to stick to it, and it's not as easy as saying it is.
Yeah, that is really important. The giving a gentle push, being compassionate, but also giving them encouragement in the right direction is absolutely amazing. And I mean, that sacrifice that your friend made for you, I'm in awe of that.
Yeah.
That is definitely that is also her commitment as well to you, to give you the right kind of support. That is fantastic. And in terms of cultural perceptions of weight, what do you think are culture, sort of, let's also say, sort of British culture perceptions of weight, and then also African culture's perception of weight? Do you think that plays a role at all in terms of us making certain lifestyle choices?
That's an interesting one. I would say that, I mean, it depends on the perspective in which you're speaking from. As a female, being an African female, I found that storybooks and so on will tell you that, our society likes bigger boned people or whatever. That is fables and myths and so many untruths, because that's not been my reality.
Okay.
When I was big, I was insulted left, right, up and down. I don't know how many times I was called Orobo, and all these, derogatory ways to call people fat and this and that, or people putting you down, an auntie at church telling you you'll never find a husband because you're fat. You know those aunties, you
Those
know.
aunties, like I have a lot
Yeah.
of words for those aunties.
Oh,
Like,
I've got lots of words. I started literally just serving it as cold as they dish out to
are you
me, to be
serious?
honest. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so yeah, you know,
Yeah,
there's not so much love or sensitivity
yeah.
in that part of the world.
True.
And here, in the Western society, again, you know, there's a lot of emphasis on being fat equals being unhealthy,
Mhm.
and being fat equals you're going to die soon, or you're going to have a heart attack, or you're going to, you know, there are lots of people that are overweight and live long lives.
Mm.
There's also a lot of emphasis on the regulated models, the BMI and things like that, but they don't hold into account a lot of other factors. So they're not, I wouldn't say it's an accurate, you know, they're accurate ways of basically depicting health
Mhm.
or how healthy you are.
Yeah.
Um, it's good to like sort of streamline and follow to sort of benchmark yourself, but don't take it as Bible, you know. And everyone has their sweet spot where they want to get to, where they want to get at. I have this amazing scale at home that like measures your visceral fats and all these other different things. So that's what I sort of like look at.
Mhm.
Um, and in terms of like how healthy am I and what's my body fat percentage and things like that. Those are the ways I measure how well I'm doing. Less on the other stuff. So yes, quite different ways in both sides of the world, but still honing on the same message that fat is not good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really amazing, you know, how you talked about, you know, the cultural side of things in terms of words like orobo or lepa, and then there's really
Mm-hmm.
no like sort of in between in terms of how our culture obviously objectifies women
It really does. Yeah.
in the first place, but then also isn't very kind to women that fit into the perception of achievement or beauty that is
Yeah.
church auntie has of you. And so, you know,
Exactly.
you might be skinny but 32 and unmarried, and they'll find something negative to say about you. You know, you might
Yeah.
be overweight and married, but then they'll say, you know, and they'll say something about you or something about your husband.
Everyone has something to say. Like the amount of things I like, even though I have literally documented every day of this, like no one can say they haven't seen it. I've documented all of my weight loss journey. I've had people say, oh, she, you know, she's gone and had surgery, which is not a bad thing, but like I would say if I had,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, you know, she's gone and had she's gone and got her bum done, she's gone and had lipo. Girl, if I had that money, then I would have got that fat sucked out. But you know, that's just not the case. And you know, people throw out a lot of hate because they're bored, because they're jealous. I just say ignore it. People are always gonna have something to say, always gonna have something to say. But as long as you are good with yourself and happy with yourself, then nobody can tell you anything. Nobody can make you feel rubbish about yourself. And again, you know what I said, protecting yourself.
Yeah.
I don't allow, and I'm so grateful. I have parents who have zero tolerance for rubbish as well. So no one's gonna come and tell my parents, "Oh, Oyinka is too skinny." Literally, my dad will tell you, "Hold your mouth where it is.
Mm.
Don't feel like you can speak on anything related to my daughter. She's gonna be who she wants to be, how she wants to be. You know." And it's the same thing with me. I surround myself with people that speak positivity into my life, that promote me, that push me to be the best version of myself.
Mm.
Healthy competition is also good. Um, so yeah,
Yeah, I love
Just
that.
don't, not having any room for it.
Yeah, that is amazing, and I really love what you said about surrounding yourself with the right kind of energy, because a lot of times, sometimes as well, sometimes the way we feel in ourselves is not so much about us as well. It might also just be the kind of words that we're allowing into our souls and our spirits,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of energy that other people carry alongside them. And
Mm-hmm.
just in closing, as a championship point to our listeners, what would you say to anyone who wanted to take to take their health to the next level, and not in a sort of crash diet sort of way, but in a sustainable way? What would you say to them?
In a sustainable way, I would say, well done, first of all. And then I would say there's no one box fits all, one size fits all, one way fits all. No, you literally have to look at yourself, look at what your capabilities are, your lifestyle, what is feasible and what is not. So, like things like going vegan when you're a literal like carnivore, think about like, can I actually do this? Can I not do it? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
um I cannot run to save my life. I don't like running. I don't enjoy it. I think it's rubbish. And saying, oh, I'm gonna go and run every day, no, it doesn't work for me. I'd rather do 30-minute high intensity workout, or 30 minutes on my weights, on my iron, and that's what I enjoy, and that's what works for me. So there's not one size fits all. What works for one person may not work for you. Looking at Kim Kardashian's body, you're not going to get Kim Kardashian's body, because Kim Kardashian's body, there's a bit of genetics in there, there's a bit of doctor's table in there.
Yes, there is.
And and you've got to understand that looking at idolizing this one person, like I've had people say, oh, I bought this dress, I'm the same size as you, it doesn't look on me how it looks on you. It's not going to look on you how it looks on me, because genetically I have no boobs and I have a small waist, big hips and a big bum. So do you get what I mean? There's no one size chart fits all. You've got to literally run your own race, do things at your own pace, find the things that you like, that you enjoy, that you can incorporate into your lifestyle, that's not going to turn your whole world upside down. I like to do exercise earlier in the day. It may not work for some people. Some people like exercising later in the day. For me, after a long work day of dealing with multiple people, the last thing I want to do is exercise.
Yeah.
So, the best way to be sustainable and for it to last is to do what works for you.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. It's so important. Doing what works for you, and also going on a journey to actually know yourself and identify your strengths, your weaknesses, your energy cycles as well. It's so important. A lot of us don't know what our energy cycles are like, and so we want to then say, oh, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym. For someone like me, that's never going to happen. And so if you're more of an evening person, then put in things into your calendar based on your own personal energy cycle. And just before we say goodbye, because I know our listeners are gonna ask, now that you've limited how much fried things you eat, how do you eat plantain?
I put it in the oven.
Yes.
I love it. I haven't bought an air fryer yet, because I'm penny wise pound foolish, and I've still yet to see I can make fried chicken taste like fried chicken in the oven.
Yeah.
So do I really need this device? I don't know. So my oven works perfect.
Yeah.
Luckily for me, I don't even really like plantain like that. The one that I love is the things that I love is like fried chicken and like chips and things like sweet potato chips and things like that, which I can still do in my oven.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Power of an oven. I love that. Thank you so much, Oyinkansola, for coming on today's episode. It's been
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And I have a very open door policy in my DMs.
Okay.
So if anyone's going on a sustainable journey and wants some tips, wants some recommendations on stuff, I'm not gonna do it for you. I'm not gonna I also don't like disrespect much, but I'm here to be an accountability body for anybody that needs it. So that's on Instagram.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how can they find you on Instagram?
At Oyinkansola, and then there's an underscore.
Fabulous.
That's my handle. You can just DM me.
That's great. So DM her, guys, and get an accountability partner going alongside you. That has been so great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on today's episode. Do share this podcast with 2 people who have not heard about us before. Remember that this podcast in no way replaces advice from your own doctor or physician. Do subscribe and follow us on social media. Leave us a review on iTunes so that others can access the amazing content. And do join the club at asliceofhealth.club and drop us some suggestions or questions that you might have. Don't forget to be a health champion wherever you go by separating health fact from health fiction.